On this Week 5 edition of OFN College Football Weekly, Mitch Light, the managing editor of Athlon Sports, and I will recap the key results from last week, including Stanford's big comeback win at Oregon. And we'll preview this week's key games, including the Cardinal traveling to South Bend. We'll also make our weekly picks, check the latest odds, notable injuries, and more as OFN College Football Weekly on the Ourlads Football Radio Network starts now. It's Thursday, September 27th, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to OFN College Football Weekly as we preview Week 5 in college football. OFN College Football Weekly is brought to you by ourlads.com, bringing you the top pro and college football depth charts on the net. Covers.com, featuring live score, stats, and odds, considered the most convenient and entertaining source for sports news and facts, with over 45 million visits a year. And Athlon Sports, the leading publisher of preseason annuals for more than 50 years and sold in 60,000 outlets nationwide. For more info, visit athlonsports.com. So, Mitch, Week 5, I can't believe it. This is our last show of September. I'm already starting to it's weird. It's like you get into this college football thing and you anticipate it so much, and then it's like, September's over, and then you start thinking about the season being over too fast.
Yeah, I mean, college football is, it's the shortest season of all the sports we really follow.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit shorter than the NFL, 4 games if you don't count the bowls. So it is. It gets over quickly, and then, sometimes if you're a fan of a team with high hopes and you lose a couple games in September, you're already mentally checking out.
Yeah.
So it's in the fact that, that it's the shortest season, and it's got the longest off season, and we talk about it all off season, and then, like you said, before you know it, you're halfway through the season. So, but let's try and enjoy it while we still have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, things are picking up as we had, again, the big result last week was Stanford beating Oregon. Crazy result, especially where they were, how close they were, inches away actually from the game was over at that point, but they were able to hang in there, make a couple of plays, get lucky. There's no question about that. And Oregon just didn't finish. And Stanford, you got to give Stanford credit for also taking advantage of the fact that Oregon didn't finish.
Yeah, it's both. Oregon, I don't know, implosions may be a little strong, but, they are, like you said, Greg, inches away from a 31-7 lead, and Stanford's not coming back from that. Stanford, was there luck that the Oregon guy, center, snapped it over the, Herbert's head? Yeah,
sure,
there was,
sure.
And they made the play.
Mm-hmm.
But they also played well. KJ Costello was brilliant in the second half. I think he averaged 8 yards per attempt for the game, which is very good. Both quarterbacks were outstanding, and a lot's been made, and I'll criticize. I'll be the first to criticize for clock management issues. But there's one school of thought that says if you have to punt, don't kneel. If you can run out the clock by kneeling 100 times out of 100, you do that. I understand where Cristobal was coming from. The problem was the running back who tried to fight for the extra yards. You got to go down on contact immediately, and so I probably would have kneeled, but I get it. Just a very unfortunate set of circumstances for Oregon, and I can't imagine a more well, there's been a lot of painful losses in college football in recent years, but for that fan base, just a painful loss.
Yeah, they've got to – I think, of course, what they have to do when you got a kid like Herbert there, you got to make sure you rebound quickly or on the road. It's not going to be an easy game at Cal. You can't have that baggage that brings you to the next one because it's not over. They can still win the Pac-12. They just can't lose anymore right now. They lose another game, and they're probably be in big trouble, but – it's still we still don't know exactly what we got here with Oregon, but I mean I think Cristobal's a good coach. I felt he was a good coach. I thought he got a raw deal at FIU. I think this is obviously a great golden opportunity for him, and especially when you got a quarterback who could end up as the first pick in the draft when he decides to leave. This is still a team that I think has a shot to do some special things this season, but they can't let this game affect them the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, they looked good in defeat, if that's possible. So like TCU looked good in defeat to Ohio State a couple weeks ago, but then we know what happened to TCU.
Oh, that's true?
So, yeah, it's a couple ways of looking at it. One is they let a golden opportunity to beat a Pac-12 North rival, at home, so they blew an opportunity. But like I said, they looked good doing so, and it's a big year for him because a lot of people kind of were maybe questioning the hire. He has a great quarterback. It looks like this might be his last year there. So if he can have a nice first season there, that will just kind of get the ball rolling recruiting. And I agree with you. It's a kind of a strange set of circumstances that saw him get fired at FIU. So he probably didn't think he'd landed a job as good as Oregon, 8 years later.
All right, now, before we do get into some of the games from this week, and what we're going to do is the new format. We're going to go through the conferences, zip through them, and let you know what's going on last week, this week, and so forth. But before we do that, of course, we're always going to take a look at top headlines, and the quarterback position has definitely been the big headline this week in college football, from Notre Dame changing quarterbacks to Miami possibly changing quarterbacks tonight, and to Kelly Bryant transferring from Clemson. So how surprised were you? Not that Lawrence became the starter, but that Bryant decided to leave so quickly.
Mildly surprised. You never know what really makes a guy tick and what's going on there. A lot's been made. There's a lot of opinions both ways. I'm kind of the opinion that both sides are right. Bryant obviously can leave if he wants to go play somewhere else and he feels wronged to some degree. And Dabo Swinney's role is to win as many games as possible, and he thought that naming Hunter Lawrence as starter was the way to go. And so obviously he should do what he thinks he needs to do for his team. Bryant, I get, part of me wants to say stick it out. What happens if Lawrence gets hurt, a week or two, you're back in the saddle, you're leading a national championship caliber team, but that's not what he chose to do, and he can play somewhere else next year. So interesting situation. Obviously a lot was made when McCleskey transferred from Oklahoma State. We've seen it across the board. One thing a lot of people aren't really focusing on, and I don't know if some of these kids didn't know the policy, but like one of the guys at Auburn, Nate Craig Myers, wide receiver, who's an underclassman, you have to sit out another year too. So like Bryant is going to graduate and can play next year, but if you're not going to graduate this year and you pick up the ball and leave after 4 games, you still have to sit out the 2019 season. So it does you no good to leave after 4 games unless you're a graduating senior. I don't think a lot of people have really realized that.
As far as Bryant is concerned, I don't think Bryant, he's not going to, unless there was something that he was going to show us this season where he was going to completely transform himself. I don't see Bryant as a professional quarterback. So, I again, who knows what happens if gets a little bit bigger, and develops a little bit more, but that's why you wonder. I guess this is just maybe him trying to salvage, one more year of college ball. Maybe he thinks he's got some sort of aspirations on the next level. They all do. But I will say, though, I think it is interesting of what the difference of what Dabo Swinney did and Nick Saban didn't do. Now we're not privy to all the inside stuff with his quarterback situation and exactly how it all transpired at Alabama. How Hurts, did he decide that he was perfectly happy to stay there and be in that situation? I don't know if I actually trust that. I mean, you know how Saban is. It's almost like you get Nick Saban, and it's like, oh, you're not going nowhere. And then Dabo Swinney's like, okay, he's going to transfer. I'm going to do what I think is best for the program. But if it's going to cost my veteran quarterback from transferring, then that's what's going to happen. I just find it interesting how that all worked out. I wonder if Hurts actually decided to stay at Alabama because that's what he just wanted to do. He's never going to be a pro quarterback. Bryant's got more ability than Hurts. But that was also something that I always felt was kind of interesting of how Hurts decides to stay, and yet Bryant just left after, a couple of days. Yeah,
one small difference there, though, too. Hurts he's got another year of eligibility. So, he's losing a year of eligibility, but Bryant, if he played one more game, his career is done. He can't play next year. Where Hurts will play next year somewhere else regardless, it's just whether or not it's going to be 1 year of eligibility or 2 years of eligibility. I'm sure he would rather have 2 years of eligibility. But
you think he would leave? You still think Hurts would leave?
Oh, I think I'll be stunned if he's at Alabama next year.
Okay, so you think that he basically felt Now, and again, it would surprise me because Saban. All right, this is a competition. First of all, do you think Nick Saban pretty much knew who was going to be the starting quarterback and didn't lead that on to Hurts and was being selfish and was just keeping Hurts there in case anything happened to Tua? But he kind of knew that Tua was going to be his guy, and Hurts was believing that he actually had a chance to start this year.
Well, I think he might not have known, and then Athlon Sports magazine came out in the spring, and he saw that we picked Tua to win the Heisman Trophy. So he said, if those guys think he's that good, then I'm going to start him. So no, in all seriousness, I'd be very surprised if that staff didn't know.
Yeah.
From when they left the Sugar Bowl, whatever the Sugar Bowl, the national championship game, who their starting quarterback was going to be. But I don't blame him for wanting Hurts to stay.
Oh, sure.
You know,
I get it.
So just it's just he wants as many good players as possible. So it's a unique circumstance, especially with him being able to graduate and have 2 years of eligibility.
I guess it just all depends on how you go about doing it. I mean, you could be like, yeah, of course I want him to stay, but the difference with really being truthful to the kid, or hey, I'm doing what's best for me in the program, not what's best for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I get it. It's a complex situation, and we don't, like we've both said, we don't know 100% know what's going on, and you know what? If Jalen Hurts was wronged in any way, this will come out afterwards. His parents, his dad will speak. Someone will speak.
That's true.
We haven't heard the last of this.
That's true. All right. So anyway, that does become pretty interesting for Clemson with their situation against the Orange this week. I wonder if it does become a distraction. I had Phil Kornblut on the ACC show earlier today and talked about that. So I wonder whether or not that is something that could be a distraction, because it was not a distraction. They were all revenge mode this week on the Orange, and all of a sudden this comes into play, and the Orange are coming in pretty hot, especially on offense.
Yeah, I mean, last year I think Syracuse was 3-3 when they beat Clemson, and that was at home. This team's 4-0, and it's a much better team. My first inclination, Greg, was to say it's not going to be a distraction, but I'm sure there's guys on that team that were, especially in his recruiting, Kelly Bryant's recruiting class, they were his buddies, they were his guys, and they don't want to see him go, and they're thinking of if Hunter Lawrence makes a mistake this week, and my guy wouldn't have done that. I'm not saying this is going to happen, so I don't think we can rule it out. I think when push comes to shove, Clemson's just going to have too much of a talent advantage in that there's a little bit of a revenge factor there. So I think Clemson wins the game comfortably, but I really like this Syracuse team. I just think Clemson's just too good. Yeah,
I think the one thing that we do have to keep in mind is how Clemson has they had a couple of games over the last couple of years. Actually, I think both games happened in 2016. I think it was that North Carolina State game that was real close. And, of course, they lost to Pittsburgh. So they've had some games where they've been heavily favored at home. And of course, we know the Syracuse game was on the road, but heavily favored even at home. And they've either squeaked by and been able to hold them off, or they've lost. So it does happen. I think this is a close game until late, and then Clemson just too strong. It's a big number, though. What is it, up to 26 now?
Oh, is it really that high? Wow. Because when I was thinking about picking games, I wanted to stay away from this one, so I didn't even look at it that closely. But one thing we need to, I shouldn't joke about this, but we need to be sure Eric Dungey gets out of this game. He's been so injury-prone, and against that defensive line, those guys are going to want to just, not that they want to hurt him, but they want to be physical with him, put it that way.
Yeah, that kid DeVito looks like he's definitely going to be the guy once Dungey leaves. But, yeah, Dungey's a special player, and you want to make sure that he's in this game. And if he is, who knows? Anything's possible in college football. Speaking of the ACC, you have Miami and North Carolina tonight. So a lot of people will be listening to this after the game. By the time this is on demand in a couple of hours. And North Carolina does get all their players back from suspension, coming off a win, so that was good. But Miami, and this is not a surprise. I mean, we've talked about Rozier, and that's the big issue if the Hurricanes are going to actually have a chance to beat Clemson or even play in the ACC championship game. And we talked about, well, do they have somebody behind Rozier? And, well, they do, because Perry got an opportunity to play a little bit a couple of weeks ago. And then he gets out there after, the third series and becomes the starter in the FIU game. And I don't know, I haven't heard anything yet about tonight, but I would suspect that Perry's going to start.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he did not start. He completed his first 10 passes of the game, and, he was suspended for the the LSU game, so even with the offense kind of sputtering in the opener, it's not they couldn't go to him because he wasn't there, and he was a guy that some people hinted might contend for the job last year as a true freshman. That didn't happen, and the fact that he looked good, it was only Florida International, so we'll have to see. But I'd be surprised if he's not starting tonight. And if for some reason he plays well, and I think that changes the look of this Miami team.
All right. Also, by the way, in the ACC, Virginia Tech ended up with the biggest upset loser in years. It just made. I mean, look, on the ODU side, it didn't make any sense because they get blown out by Liberty. They lose to Charlotte, and they can't beat anybody. Backup quarterback. But the Virginia Tech side, you can almost, sort of like Minnesota's loss against Buffalo last week, there were circumstances distracting Virginia Tech in this one. The Hill is dismissed. They being overconfident, all of that. I could see a few things of why the game could have been maybe closer than people thought, but the result, it's just mind-boggling. And now they got to go to Duke, and it's the battle of backup number 2 quarterbacks. And so far, Duke's number 2 quarterback looks, and I believe will look a lot better than an ex-Kansas transfer.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that was one of the most shocking results in years. Just the fact that they lost and the manner in which they lost, giving up all those yards to a backup quarterback. This is a big game. We'll see how Miami looks tonight. But if Miami doesn't look very good tonight, the Virginia Tech at Duke is that. Duke could take control of the ACC at Coastal, which would be crazy, especially with all the injuries they've had. It's interesting. I think we kind of judge Duke on a scale a little bit because they've been good for several years, so I'm not trying to slight them at all. But same way you might judge my alma mater, Vanderbilt, when they're winning games. Like, oh, that's a good win. They won at Northwestern. That's a good win. They won at Baylor. They beat Army. But if Virginia Tech won those games, would we be impressed? Probably not. You know what I mean? So
sure.
I'm trying to give Duke the proper respect by saying, okay, they really haven't beaten anyone because those teams are kind of struggling. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's a night game. Unfortunately, probably going up against the two big games nationally.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Under the radar, very important early season conference game.
I think what they've been able to at least do is they haven't. I mean, besides last week's Patsy, they've played marginal teams, but no bad programs. I mean, 3 teams. Baylor, who knows? Baylor may be a bowl team this year, so potentially 3 bowl teams, and they have won them all. And most importantly, the defense has been fantastic. So and now you've got your defense going up against Willis. So look, it's only a 5-point spread. I was actually considering this as one of my top picks. It won't be, but it was on the list. It was close.
Duke would be my pick. New defensive coordinator losing Jim Knowles to Oklahoma State, but they've been fantastic so far.
All right, let's move over to the Pac-12. We talked about Stanford and Oregon. And also, by the way, last week, I just want to talk about that USC-Washington finish because Washington State was my 5-star pick, and it did cover. So I did get that. They were a 5-point dog, and they got that. But at the end of that game, I mean, I have never seen Leach so conservative in my life. Since when has Mike Leach settled for field goals? I mean, you know how Mike Leach is. He'll be at it doesn't even matter where it'll be 4th and 8 at the 20-yard line. He goes for it. Normally in seasons, he must really like this kicker for allowing the kicker to try and get him in overtime. But fact is, what surprised me the most was the run on 3rd and then the field goal. I figured if you were going to run on 3rd, you were definitely going for it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I agree with everything you said there. Surprising ending, would have been a huge win for them. Ended up being a big win for USC that really, really needed a win, although it wasn't the most impressive manner. But I agree with everything you just said there about Leach.
And by the way, they covered for me. I felt good about their cover too. because I tell you what, one of the bright spots for me in college football quarterback this year has been the play of Gardner Minshew. I mean, that kid can throw the football. I mean, he had a great game. He's played great this year. I mean, he's making all the throws. I mean, Daniels was basically just chucking the ball up. They were playing, lob ball against Washington State DBs, and they were killing them with that play. Okay, I understand that strategy. But Minshew was making incredible throws. And after what we've seen over the last few years with Mahomes and Mayfield, you can now run the spread in college and become a successful NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, just think how this kid's fortunes changed. He, over the offseason, committed to Alabama basically knowing that he'd be a third-string quarterback there because he wanted to be a coach. And then, Leach came calling, so it ended up being a great move for him.
I'm actually going to take Washington State again. My second straight week is my 5-star because I'm getting 2 points. I don't know why they're an underdog against Utah at home. I don't understand that at all. There's no respect there. Utah has been awful. They're turning the ball over multiple times every week. Every game you've seen from Utah this year has been ugly. So unless Utah turns around and has their best game of the season, okay, if you could do that, fine, do it, but prove it to me first. Washington State right now is a better team than Utah.
I like that pick. I like it. Was not one of my picks, but, you make a very compelling case there.
All right, now let's move on to the big one from the Pac-12, Stanford, Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes ahead, changes quarterbacks, and I'll tell you right now, that change in quarterback for the first time this season, I actually think Notre Dame has a chance to be a playoff team because they have a great defense, and if the quarterback does his job, I think they could lose one game and still get to the playoffs. I don't know if it's this game that they could lose because this would be a huge one for their resume. But interesting that Stanford has dominated this series the last few years, and Notre Dame is a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, the quarterback move was at the right time, too, because they're going into a Wake Forest team that had just been, beaten badly through the air and on the ground by Boston College. So Book, they probably knew they had some matchups there that they could take advantage of. So great win. Book looks like he's kind of got that it factor there. I like Notre Dame. I like them to win this game. And a word of caution, though, to your bold playoff pick, and I am far from a scout, but I saw Notre Dame and South Carolina in back-to-back weeks. South Carolina is a better football team than Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Okay. So
just my from my vantage point, roaming the sidelines.
Wait. You like Notre Dame this week?
Yes.
But you think South Carolina is better than Notre Dame?
Yeah, I'm just saying. So I was just advising you to pump the brakes on your Notre Dame. Could be a playoff pick.
Got it.
Saying that South Carolina, I don't think North Carolina is good. I don't think Notre Dame is good enough to make the playoffs. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, keep it. And by the way, the 20-1 to win the championship, which is a lot different than making playoffs, of course. We all know that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind. I mean, Book didn't. I know Vanderbilt played well offensively in that game. They just made a lot of mistakes. But who knows if Book's playing, what the outcome is in that game. And I see what you're saying. You watched both games back to back with Vandy. And we'll get to South Carolina in a second. But you know what? I'm taking Stanford plus the 6 as my 3-star. I'm not saying that they're definitely winning the game, but again, they've dominated the series recently. Why wouldn't I take the 6 and again, Stanford is still my playoff pick, my official playoff pick, and I see no reason still not to feel confident about that after the way that they stole the win last week.
Yeah, good pick. Stanford's defense still concerns me a little bit. I'd be interested to see if it's Book wire to wire tonight or Saturday night, or if they go to Winbush a little change of pace, use his athleticism for a series or two, keep him engaged. I think that'll be an interesting storyline.
Well, if I take Stanford, I hope they do bring in Winbush from time to time. All right, let's go to the other game that's important in the Pac-12, and that's Washington at home against BYU. It's a 17.5-point spread. And look, I have not been impressed with Washington this season. I think maybe there's a confidence issue with the overall players. Let's keep in mind that Trey Adams, by the way, has not played pretty much all year for Washington, won't play all year. He is a big part of their offensive line. But I'm not saying that that's the issue. But offensively, they have just not looked like I think they should have at this point. They've only scored over 27 points once all season. And the last couple of weeks have been ugly wins. And even the Auburn game wasn't exactly this highlight film game. So there's just something going on with Washington I'm just completely unimpressed with. And I don't think we can be any more impressed with BYU. I think this is a lot of points. I think BYU is going to hang in there and cover the spread.
Yeah, I was surprised the spread was so big in this game. BYU's done some good things, obviously. They're clearly much improved on offense from last year when they were just dreadful. And I'm kind of with you on Washington. They've been kind of unimpressive. I think it's going to be two things. Either they're going to be unimpressive all season and they'll lose a couple games, or the switch will turn on mid-season. They'll start beating teams like we thought, and they'd say, hey, they survived some ugly games. So I don't know what it's going to be, but you would think with a veteran quarterback, those running backs, and the talent across the board that they would have played better, but they have been kind of lethargic this year. So I like your BYU pick against the points.
And by the way, USC-Arizona is also a big game, as well as Oregon-Cal late on Saturday night. USC, we'll see if they'll start getting on a roll now. But Arizona's also won a couple of games. Maybe they're starting to get comfortable. So that's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, it's Khalil Tate. I know he's banged up a little bit, but still not, he's a completely different player this year. He's not running the ball at all. He's got, less than maybe 20 net yards rushing this year, which is incredible.
Yeah, that is, this just shows you offenses, even though you would think that they're not very different, but there is something going on there. Big Ten and Michigan. Look, last week I said that I went with Nebraska because I felt that I don't like what I see out of Michigan, and why would I have liked what I've seen out of Michigan? And then all of a sudden, Michigan plays the game that I've been waiting for them to play all season. They just happen to do it finally after I pick against them. So I don't mind that. When I pick against my favorite team and my favorite team wins, I get a good consolation prize there. But if Michigan plays like that more often, then all of a sudden they could be a very dangerous team in college football this year. And this week they got Northwestern, and they're a 14-point favorite, and Northwestern's got to play the game without their leading rusher.
Yeah, I like Michigan to cover in this one. It's not one of my three picks, but I just think Michigan, I know Nebraska's not very good and the quarterback's not healthy, but that was the Michigan team I thought we'd see all season. Their defensive line is dominant. You look at their rushing yards against, they're doing a great job there. Shea Patterson appears to be getting more comfortable. So I think that will travel, that performance will travel. I think Northwestern's kind of reeling, with the Jeremy Larkin out. So I expect Michigan to continue to play well and win that game at Northwestern.
Yeah, Larkin not only led the team in rushing, but the number 2 rusher for Northwestern has 21 yards.
Yeah, so, he was the one. I mean, I'd seen 2 of their games this year. He's been very impressive so far.
The, of course, big one is Ohio State and Penn State. The whiteout Saturday night, biggest game of the year. Big deal for Penn State and the chances of them winning this game with no Nick Bosa. Huge for them to not have to worry about Nick Bosa. Look, I like the combination of McSorley playing at home where he doesn't lose, plus he gets 4 points. So I like that. You could still lose 3. I could still cover. I'm taking Penn State as my 4-star pick. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. This has been a nice little slugfest the last couple of years, and Penn State's come really close to winning the last 2 years.
Yeah, you make a compelling argument, but I'm going Ohio State. I'm going overall talent. A little concerned about Penn State's defense. The Illinois kind of ran the ball a little too easily for my comfort, and both Pitt and Illinois have run for 250 yards against them. I think Ohio State will have success offensively. Haskins been phenomenal, but you make, the point about Bosa is, just imagine being in those offensive meetings for Penn State and not having to worry about scheming for Bosa.
Yes.
I mean, they've got other good players, but he's a true difference maker. So it's one of the best games of the year. I think, You got Ohio State and Michigan. You got Auburn, Alabama are going to be the best games of the year every year. This game is kind of, first it was Alabama LSU for a while, then maybe Florida State Clemson. This is now, to me, the biggest non-true traditional rivalry game in college football.
Yes, especially when they play at Happy Valley at night. So, look, the other thing is, I still think, edge McSorley because of the experience over Haskins. Haskins' first true road start in this environment. But Penn State's got to find a way to pressure him the way that TCU did. If they could do any of that, not sure they can, but if they can do any of that, that'd be a big edge. Look, I don't expect Penn State to stop Ohio State. I think this game could easily be right where the number is, the over total, which I think is 72 or something. I could easily see it being somewhere like 42-38. I wouldn't be shocked. I actually expect it.
Yeah, last year's game very high scoring as well.
All right. Meanwhile, in the SEC, Kentucky with a huge win over Mississippi State, and I think, tell you the truth, I'm not going to put Kentucky with Alabama or anything like that yet. But from where they've been in their program history, this might be the best team that I think I've seen maybe ever at Kentucky. I'm sorry, but I don't ever remember a team that has impressed me this much at Kentucky.
Yeah, some of the Hal Mummy teams were exciting, and they had some big wins. They beat Alabama once, but the manner in which they won that game was so impressive. Just bullying, pun sort of intended, Mississippi State at the line of scrimmage on both sides. They made Nick Fitzgerald into a passing quarterback, which if you can do that, you're going to beat Mississippi State. So, they don't have the overall talent. Maybe, obviously, some of the top teams in the SEC, they don't have as many playmakers that scare you at wide receiver, but they are good on the offensive line. They've got a great playmaker in Josh Allen on the defensive line, and Benny Snell is fantastic. And that kid plays with it's kind of a cliche in sports, but he plays with as big of a chip on his shoulder, I think you'll see. So, interesting game. Like I said, I saw South Carolina in person. They were very impressive. Just on both lines of scrimmage, they've got three really good wide receivers. Very impressed in person with their playmakers. Partly because I'm here in Tennessee, it's SEC country. Everyone's been raving about Kentucky. I just think people are kind of sleeping on South Carolina a little bit after that loss to Georgia. I'll go Gamecocks on the road.
Well, here's an interesting tidbit. Kentucky is 0-6 against the spread at home as a favorite since last year, even though the line has come down to pick them, so we'll keep an eye on that because they were a favorite up until last 24 hours. And South Carolina, though, on the flip side, as an away dog, 4-0 against the spread last year. So if Kentucky ends up the favorite, you might want to just if you're really into that as your way of going about it, then South Carolina's the pick. But it is going to be tough for Kentucky to rebound after that emotional win last week and just do it again with a very good, like you said, underrated South Carolina team.
Yep. Fun game, though.
The big game, though, in the SEC has got to be Florida-Mississippi State because we get to see Dan Mullen returning to Mississippi State. So Florida comes up with a big win. Not sure what that means. Tennessee's terrible. Mississippi State coming off a loss. I wonder if they were looking ahead at this game. So what do you think? Mississippi State's 7-point favorite at home game.
Yeah, I don't feel as good about the Bulldogs as I did last week just because some of the things I talked about. If they were going to lose to a team that kind of maybe an Ole Miss team, a team that just threw it all over the place, that's one thing that out-finessed them. They lost to a team that was physical, that's built like them, but was better than them. That to me, that's concerning. With that, they got outrushed 229 to 56. Nick Fitzgerald, I think, threw the ball like 35 times. That's too many times for him. I know they fell behind late and all that stuff, but. I think I'd take Mississippi State to win, but not cover in this game. I think they're the better team than Florida. I think we'll learn a lot about kind of Joe Moorhead and what this team's all about. It's a huge game for the fans there, with Mullen coming back. So I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. So I like Mississippi State to win a close one.
You see, the physicality part, because I do believe Mississippi State, from the games I saw before the Kentucky game, they looked like they were playing physical football. So I tend to look at that as, maybe there was a look-ahead factor there. Maybe they weren't as into this game as they needed to be, and Kentucky was all over this game emotionally. So I'm willing to give them a pass in one game, but now they got to obviously make up for it this week against Florida.
Yeah, that's a big issue for them, though. If they're, not to be an SEC homer or whatever, but if you're overlooking an SEC road game, just because you got Florida next week, you're Mississippi State's not good enough to do that. Obviously,
no, they're not, and maybe that's part of the problem. Been at Mississippi State for a while. That's why they're not one of the top programs. All right, we'll find out though. Either way, it should be a fun game to watch. A good atmosphere. Let's get to the Big 12, and what did you think about the Oklahoma Army game?
Well, I love Army. I love the option football, so I thought it was fun. I was one of the thousands of people watching it on that guy's Stitch, whatever. I don't even know.
It was something else. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at the scores, and I'm going, of course. This is the one game that's not. You got to go look for the game, and I can't just have it with 40 other games on television.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm willing to give Army a pass. Oklahoma a pass on this. Mm-hmm. From a statistical standpoint, they outgained Army on a per play basis by like 4 yards. Army just with 3rd and 7, 2nd and 4, first down, 3rd and 2nd. They just drive the field.
Sure.
Oklahoma, when it had the ball, did some good things. So giving them a pass for this week. But, great effort by Army.
Yeah, Army actually outgained Oklahoma last week.
Yeah,
because
they had like 50 more plays. Yeah.
That's true. By the way, Oklahoma and Texas play next week. So not that I don't think either team will have a problem, though, this week. Oklahoma with Baylor and Texas with the Kansas State team that's just not looking good at all. They're going to go to Delton. I don't think that really matters. They don't have enough playmakers. They got like one receiver, and that's about it. It's just Snyder might be coaching his last season the way things are going.
Yeah, they're not very good. I mean, they got manhandled by Mississippi State, West Virginia. They just don't have enough talent, and I don't know if don't know what the deal is, but I saw them last year here in Nashville and wasn't overly impressed with them. And they're not. Skylar Thompson was not getting the job done at quarterback, so I think it's a big game for Texas. Like if Texas is getting better, which we think they are, go on the road and beat a team you're supposed to beat.
Business.
Don't screw around and lose a close game or anything.
It's only their second road game of the year. We saw what happened in their first road game.
Actually, first true. I mean, that was in Maryland. It's their first on-campus road game.
That's true. So take care of business with a Kansas State team that's doing nothing right now. But if so, then all of a sudden Texas Oklahoma next week is major big. Who knows? It could be a rematch in the Big 12 championship game. The way it's going. And Texas Tech's win over Oklahoma State was very impressive. I don't think it's a fluke. They take on West Virginia this week. That's a huge game. Another under-the-radar game like Kentucky, Mississippi, like Kentucky and South Carolina. I just really like this Bowman kid. I mean, this kid, can Kingsbury find quarterbacks or what?
Incredible. I mean, what they did last week, shutting out Oklahoma State in the second half, after what Oklahoma State did to Boise State, was one of the under the radar great accomplishments this season. And like you mentioned, he's leading the nation in passing. True freshman, great story there. And not saying that they're going to contend or anything like that, but it looks like Cliff Kingsbury is on the way to saving his job. So this is another big one though. West Virginia coming to town. Two of the best offenses in the country. I like West Virginia on the road, but wouldn't surprise me if Texas Tech won this game.
Yeah, true road game for the first time this season for West Virginia, so we do have to keep that in mind, but should be a really exciting game. We're going to find out a lot about both teams in that one. And then the rest of the way, just a few other games from some of the other conferences. You look at the AAC, and there are some interesting games this week to keep an eye on, including Memphis and Tulane. This was actually a game that I was thinking about taking the money line with Tulane as one of my top money line plays. Of course, we only do one here on this show. I don't think Memphis is a 14-point better team than Tulane. We'll see. It's a Friday night game. I think this is a game. I think this would be a competitive football game.
Yeah, Memphis kind of screwed around a little bit with Georgia State last week. Or no, who was it?
South Alabama?
South Alabama last week. They pounded Georgia State the previous week and didn't play great. Tulane has had they lost it by 7 at UAB. They lost to Wake Forest at home. No problem. No shame in getting blown out by Ohio State. So
no.
I'm a big Willie Fritz fan, but they need to win one of these games.
They have to win this game.
They need to break through.
Yes.
They beat Houston last year. They've had some nice wins over the last couple of years, but this is a game at home would be a really nice win for them.
Yeah, this is the game that saves their season. In the Conference USA, FAU Middle Tennessee, another game I was actually thinking of taking. FAU a 3-point favorite, and the reason is they're only a 3-point favorite, and I say that because they pretty much dominated the conference last year. Middle Tennessee, okay, they're a good program. I completely get that, but that's a good game. And then also Louisiana Tech North Texas, another game I was close to taking. Why wouldn't I want to take North Texas as a 7-point favorite the way they're playing, even though Louisiana Tech is a good program as well?
Yeah, I picked North Texas to cover in one of my picks against the spread that I do on our website, which no one should ever look at since I'm about 10 games under 500 this year. So don't look at that, but that was just one of my picks. The FAU Middle Tennessee game is interesting. FAU they haven't scored over like 35 points they have not scored over 33 maybe in any one game this year. They averaged like 40 last year. Middle Tennessee, really good quarterback, very tough kid. Brent Stockstill's been around. Intriguing game there. That's one I don't really have a good feel. I'd stay away from that one. But North Texas to me has been one of the most impressive teams in the country this year. Not saying they're one of the best teams, but relative to who they've played, all they do is take care of business and score points.
That's right. So that's why, as much as I respect the Louisiana Tech program, 7 points, it's too tempting. Well, it wasn't tempting enough. but it was close as far as picks. Mountain West, you've got, I guess the one game that I want to keep an eye on, not an all Mountain West game, is the Fresno State Toledo MAC Mountain West game. Fresno's a 7.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, interesting game. You like when teams like Nevada play Toledo, and then when these teams kind of play each other, when they get together. So I don't have a good feel for this game. I was diving in the numbers earlier, trying to figure out who I liked. I'll go Fresno State at home, but to me, it's just it's a home team pick.
Yeah,
right there.
I would go with Fresno. I'm not sold on Toledo this year at all. 7 though is a lot. I get that, but I don't think Toledo is going to stop anybody.
Yeah, they beat Nevada last week, but they had 2 special team scores. I mean, they all count, but they blocked a field goal, I think, and they also they returned a kickoff for a touchdown.
Yeah, so they definitely lost a lot as far as their top skill players, and they gave up 582 yards of total offense to Nevada, and Fresno can move the ball too if they have to. Okay, in the MAC, Buffalo, a MAC independent matchup, big game. Buffalo has been playing great football. I think we both, we were both on Buffalo before the season began. Now Johnson's got a leg injury that he's dealing with, so we got to keep an eye on that. That'd be big not to have him in this matchup. But Army, of course, is playing great football too. So this is this is one of those games that enthusiasts like us definitely are interested in.
Yeah, I'm staying on the Bulls bandwagon. I'm going Buffalo. I just think that it's kind of all come together. Was this year 4 for Leopold?
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Army too. Like you said, this is a game I really appreciate both programs, but I'm going Buffalo.
All right, Eastern Michigan. I came real close to taking them also as one of my top picks. 3-point favorite against Northern Illinois. The only reason I didn't is because of the fact that they've lost 10 straight to Northern Illinois. And I don't like going that way if, they haven't won them in maybe 10 years, and they're the favorite. I don't like that. But, look, I've seen both teams play this year. Eastern Michigan's a better team than Northern Illinois. They should win this game. Eastern Michigan was fantastic last week. It's just a tough way to lose to San Diego State. But predictable because San Diego State knows how to win close games, and Eastern Michigan knows how to lose close games.
10 out of their last 11 losses have been by 7 points or less. And their quarterback situation is interesting because Tyler Weigers, I think it's Weigers, not Uyghurs, the Iowa transfers, been really good. But Mike Glass has played too. They're going with 2 quarterbacks there. Yeah. So, Chris Creighton, we've talked about him on this podcast, very underrated nationally.
And those defenders, too, for Eastern Michigan, Max Crosby and Kyle Rockwell. I mean, they got a physical defense. I mean, those kids can play, and this is a legitimate MAC team. Again, I mean, I think they have to beat Northern Illinois. Take care of business against Northern Illinois, and we might yet see that Eastern Michigan Buffalo MAC championship game this year.
Dream showdown.
All right, let's get to picks now because nothing really going on in the Sun Belt. Maybe Arkansas State, Georgia Southern could be interesting, but let's go with picks. I already gave my 5, Washington State +2, my 4, Penn State +4, my 3, Stanford +6, so I'll give my upset, and I'm going to go back to one of my preseason teams. I'm taking Iowa State +11, +330 on the money line at TCU for the outright upset win.
Okay, I'll start there because I too have Iowa State as my upset pick.
Really?
And for the record, I am 2-2. I think in the we have to pick a double-digit upset to win, outright for those for listening for the first time, and I'm 2-2 this year. So I like Iowa State over TCU as my upset. My 5-star is Tennessee +32 over Georgia. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction. Tennessee was bad last week, but the ball kind of literally and figuratively just started rolling, bounced the wrong way, and.
Really? Wow.
Yes. I think Georgia's clearly better.
You're not going with Ball State?
No, I'm done with Ball State. I'm officially breaking up with Ball State.
Good, thank you.
Tennessee +32 over Georgia.
Okay.
My 4-star is Florida State -5 over Louisville. It's the battle of the dumpster fires.
Yep. I
think Louisville is burning a lot hotter than Florida State. I think they have the talent to right the ship. I don't know if Louisville does. And then Arkansas State -3 over Georgia Southern at Georgia Southern. I just think Arkansas State clearly the better team. I think they're 18-3 in their last 21 Sun Belt games. They just win games.
By the way, just so everybody knows, I don't come up with these the handicapping point system out of nowhere. You'll as you know, like you said, maybe the actual win-loss percentages might be off with your website picks. But you're one game under 500 with our picks. but you're plus 350.
Nice.
So that's why there's a system here that we got to take advantage of those double-digit wins, and it should count. So
I like your system because your system says I'm better than my system.
The only thing that matters is whether you're plus or minus. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter. You can be 10 games under 500 as long as you're actually plus. Because that's what it's all about, the bank account. Mitch, I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the football. It should be a great weekend, some big games, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Greg. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Mitch. All right, that's Mitch Light, Athlon Sports. So, yes, Mitch right now 7-8-1, but plus 350 on his picks. And hit Kentucky on his money line play last week. And who was his other winner? His other winner was Colorado State over Arkansas. So that was his other double-digit upset special. So he's got 2 out of 4 on the double-digit specials. And that was a 350, by the way, money line. Colorado State over Arkansas, and the Kentucky was a 3-1. So, and by the way, he did hit both his 5-star and 4-star last week, West Virginia and Western Michigan. Where am I? Let's see. And I've got now here's the point. I'm 9-7, so I have a better record than Mitch, but I'm even. So I'm not minus, I'm not plus. Matter of fact, every week I've rotated 200. I started up plus 200, then minus 200, then minus 2. Actually, I didn't rotate. I went plus 200, minus 200, minus 200, plus 200. So at least I'm coming off a plus 200 because I hit all 3 of my top picks last week, going with Washington State, Buffalo, and Texas A&M. But keep in mind, I do put together top picks. Not just top picks, but all the picks. Because keep in mind, when we do the picks on the show, we are only allowed to do the 4 picks. That's it. But on my regular picks, just like Mitch has on his website, I've got on my website. On my website, which is primesportsnetwork.com, I post the picks each week, and I'll put in multiple double-digit upsets, however many I want to put in, and same thing as far as additional picks. Now, I use the same top picks on this show on that report, and the same double-digit upset, but then I'll add some double-digit upsets if I like them, and then I have a whole bunch of additional picks. So, like last week with the additional picks, I went 5-4, and 5-4 in my top picks. And where was I for the week? For the week, I was plus 310. It helped that I had the Texas Tech money line win over Oklahoma State, which was plus 460. But also very helpful that I had the 5-4 3-stars, which are 100. They count 100 each. The additional picks in my report are 50 each. But we're doing really well overall. We're 34-21-1, and we are now at plus 1,090. So we're off to a really good start in college football. That means, good luck. I'm going to have a bad week. It happens every year. You have a really bad week. You wind up losing half your bank. So we're in a position now where if I have a bad week, I can deal with it. But anyway, we're off to a good start there. College football and the NFL too. We put the NFL and college football in there. Let's see if we have anything else as far as key injuries to keep an eye on. Coastal Carolina, keep an eye on their senior quarterback Colton Anderson, who may not play in the game at Troy. ACC, if you want to know anything about the ACC, we had our ACC football show earlier today. That's already available on demand at ourlads.com. Josh Jackson out, the quarterback of Virginia Tech. Obviously, that's big. As we mentioned, too, the now Carolina suspended players are back, if that matters. We told you about the injuries in the Big Ten. Let's see. I think nothing major in the SEC or the Big 12 as far as injuries. I don't see anything also in the Pac-12. And again, I'm talking about like major injuries. New Mexico looks like they're getting their starting quarterback in their game against Liberty back. And I was actually thinking about putting them in my additional picks this week because the kid had a really great start his first week, and then he got hurt. And all of a sudden, New Mexico's offense has really not been the same. They were a 6-point favorite against Liberty at home. Also, as far as injuries, Wyoming's getting a couple of players back, including running back Nico Evans, as they have that home game against Boise State. And then I think we told you, what happened with Anthony Johnson, the Buffalo wide receiver. So that is going to wrap it up here on OFN College Football Weekly with Mitch Light of Athlon Sports And we only have one more show this week on the Our Lads Football Network, and that is only for Jet fans. So that's going to be tomorrow. Randy Lang, NewYorkJets.com, will join me to preview the Jacksonville game. Then we'll return on Sunday at 5 for the Jets post-game show against Jacksonville. Other than that, this is our new schedule. So we have a new weekly schedule. We're pretty much kind of the meat of it is gone now already. So starting next week again, returning next week, it'll be a Tuesday. That's when we kick things off with Dave Koken. And he's from Covers. We'll talk pro college football. And then, of course, fantasy football with Scott Engel. And then we'll do it all over again for the rest of the week, including our Mountain West Conference show, our ACC show, and our OFN Today shows with Mark Lawrence and Ted Zavransky from Covers.com, and also Jeff Smith from Heavy.com joining us on Thursdays as well. So we had a great week, by the way, on our OFN Today programs as far as guests and some of our other shows, too. We had a couple of guests on both the Mountain West Conference show and the ACC show. Both of those shows are available on demand, talking Clemson football, Duke football, Utah State football, and Colorado State football. Kevin Noon, BuckeyeGrove.com, talking Ohio State football. Mike Frank, talking Notre Dame football from IrishSportsDaily.com. So it was a great week of interviews, a lot to talk about on the Our Lads Football Network. And this pretty much wraps it up here with Mitch and I. And then, like I said, unless you're a Jet fan, we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. You can also send us a question or comment to the Twitter address, or OFN at PrimeSportsNetwork.com. That is our official email address here on the Our Lads Football Network. For Mitch Athlon. For Mitch Light at Athlon Mitch. You can follow him on Twitter at Athlon Mitch. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to the Our Lads Football Radio Network. And you know the drill. Alpha, Mike, Foxtrot.